What is the genesis of you becoming a trainer? Because and I mention it all the time, I wrote a book about The Rock. It's pretty comprehensive. And it's one of the things that I found most interesting was his period in USWA to when he went to Connecticut in HQ, and then you were there to train him. He wasn't the first person you trained, I believe. He was the second. And if I'm thinking right, and the first person was Mark Henry. Am I right there?
They were all together.
Were they all
So
together?
it was Rock, Mark Henry, and Occam Albrecht. So they were came together. But the way that came about, Bruce and I had been in Houston at the same time, a few years before this, obviously. And Tiger Conway Jr. called me and asked if I wanted to go down to this ring. And the guys were working out that night. And I thought, why not? Bruce wanted to come, so we came and went down to this ring. Tug Taylor was there in Houston, and I was watching the guys, and they were doing this headlock takeover, and they were killing each other, snatching each other over. And I said, guys, can I show you a different way to do this? You just step through with your left, you bring your right behind, he has your hip to go over, you put your hands this way, you post, you take the bump better. Lo and behold, nothing. But so I had a karate instructor when I was 10 years old. I've known him to this day. He's the person we've known the longest in our life. And he was always a great teacher, I thought, with kids and adults. He always had this rhythm. He had this flow. He would yell when he needed to, scream when he didn't need to. Again, you got a pat on the back, kick in the ass. He knew which one to do. It takes time. So eventually, once the Body Donna thing came up, Chris broke his neck. Chris broke his neck in Madison Square Garden. And he came back and was sitting against the floor. Didn't even go in the dressing room. He just sat on the floor and was going like this. Are you all right? He says, man, I don't know, but I hurt myself. So they took him to the hospital, kind of found out he broke his neck, but he didn't want to stop wrestling. So he just wore a neck brace and was standing on the apron, which got tons of heat because you're not supposed to be there with a broken neck. So anyway, yeah, that was Vince called me into his office at TV one day when I wasn't working, but I was there because everybody came to TV and says, hey, so I heard that you might have trained a couple of people. Would you be interested in being a coach? I said, why, sure. To which he said, that means you would have to spend a lot of time in Stanford. I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to spend a lot of time in Stanford. So it happened like that. They wanted something like the power elemental territory at that time. No plan whatsoever. My connection is unstable.
No, you're fine at the moment. You're fine at the moment.
Okay, good. So so I said, yeah, went downtown Stanford, was at the Holiday Inn for like 3 months, and I got an apartment in downtown Stanford. The first three guys were Dwayne, Mark Henry, and Occam Albrecht, a bodybuilder from Germany. And I was supposed to stay with those guys, same apartment, same place, but I said, I need a break. So I can't do it 24/7. I love you guys, but you're younger, you're vivacious, you're hungry. I'm okay. Let's meet in the morning. Let's go to the gym. Let's go to the studio. We'll stay as long as you need to do. Then you guys go over here, and I'm going to go over here. You know what I mean? I couldn't live with somebody like that. I have to see you not only at training, morning, noon, night, when I wake up. I don't want to look at you. That's all. I'll see you in training. I'll see you what we got to do. That's the way I felt. But eventually, I enjoyed those guys and enjoyed those times. It was a great opportunity.
This might be an internet rumor, but did you have to bring in a mattress for Brackus to bump on at one point?
Well, we had a crash pad. I mean, but that's for everybody, especially when you're if you've never taken a bump before, it can be a little jarring. So we had a crash pad, and yeah, we did it for everybody except Dwayne could bump already, and he had been to Memphis. They sent him there first because Dundee was very good friends with Rocky Johnson, and Pat was very good friends with Rocky Johnson. So they gave him an opportunity to go and get his feet wet and then come back in, get ready for Survivor Series, and take off from there.
When Mark Henry broke his leg, then you've only got Rock and Brackus there left. When did more people start coming in?
Well, it was when the Funkin' Dojo, Jim Ross got in touch with Dory Funk, or Dory Funk got in touch with Jim. I'm not sure which was which. And then Dory came in for I'm not sure how many months, and we did camps. We bring these guys in for a week, evaluate them, drill them, check their attitude out, observe, and after that, Dory went back to Ocala, and it just became periodic. We bring guys in for a tryout. I had an office over in the Titan Towers on the fourth floor, and I'm still wearing sweats and a t-shirt. And that's the fourth floor is the executive floor. And one day somebody told me you had to dress more professional. Well, okay, I can dress more professional, but my job was to go get in the ring, and I preferred being over in the warehouse, working and wrestling, doing that stuff. And I would have to sit or do things in the office, such as watch the tapes and DVDs, review pictures or packets that people would send in for tryouts. So if we saw somebody on a tape, we would let JR know, or Cornette, I think at that time, might have been handling that too. And we bring them in for tryouts. And sometimes they'd be one, sometimes they'd be four. So it varied at that time.
There's a few people whose names kept coming up. This is probably the time when I may have been going on the internet and looking for news here and there, and I think they must have been on the WWF.com website at the time with names. One of them was Rodney Blackbeard. There was another guy called Steve Bradley, but the guy I want to know about whose name kept coming up was Glenn Kulker. I think he had all the size and everything. How come he never really made it in wrestling?
Well, I always say, okay, what we do in the ring is that much of what the business is. That much. So where are you judged? It's where do the people make the decisions? It's how you are outside the ring. What do you like outside the ring? Call time in WWE used to be noon, and you may not go to the ring until, I don't know, 9:30, 9:45 at night. So you're there all this time. Are you sitting in catering? Are you at the ring? Are you walking around with your head up your ass? Are you just sitting in the back doing absolutely nothing, not even making an effort to be seen? And Glenn looked great. Glenn had all the tools, and he had potential. That's the key thing you look for. Is he adaptable? Are there things that he absolutely can't do, probably will never need to do? Yeah. And then there's things that you see, there's that flash of brilliance where you go, okay, all he needs to do is get some reps. All he needs to do is train. All he needs to do is understand, do it over and over and over. We can teach you that in the ring. But once you leave us and go home, or once you walk out the door, I can't hold your hand and say, Glenn, I think if you walk over there, you might go down a manhole and you'll never recover. You know what I mean? It's like, Glenn, maybe you should stay in tonight, because if you walk out into the darkness, nothing good is going to happen. I don't know if that's the case, but that's usually the case with people who look great, have a ton of potential, have all the attributes, all the tools you need. What's missing? Oh, I see. Can you trust the guy? Is he reliable? Do you understand? you need to stay away from this hot stove. Don't touch. Get away.
Well, that answers it. That does answer it. I'll ask a couple more, then we'll get to the grand finale, and then we shall close this podcast down for now. So, one thing, obviously, Byte This. I love Byte This, even though I had really terrible internet. But there was something before Byte This called Code Red that you did with the Mat Rat, I think. And I think it was like a post-show for Raw or post-show for pay-per-views. Do you remember?
Jim Muncie, or Jim, I think it was, I can't remember his name, but I do remember Jim. Yeah, they were doing that. And then I still didn't have a personal computer. They had them at the office, but I didn't have a personal computer back then. But Kevin Kelly, I was on the fourth floor. He was on second or third where internet was. He was doing some announcing too. Asked, hey, would you like to do this new show with us, Byte This? Didn't know anything about it, but sure, why not? I was doing voiceovers too for international superstars, still going to the TVs, and I think I was agenting then too. But whatever I was doing, we had a full schedule TV Monday, Tuesday, come back Wednesday, go right to the studio, do 3 voiceovers for 3 different shows, international superstars, metal, and one other obscure show.
It was jacked because I was a freak at the time for wrestling.
Same shows. Yeah, I think I did metal. Michael was doing Jack. Michael Hayes was doing Jack. But then he said, well, hey, we're doing this new internet deal. Do you want to, would you like to be a part of it? Sure. So I added on to we do the voiceovers on Wednesday, then head back to the office, do what we needed to do. Thursday, we do Byte This. And back then, I was by myself, had nothing to do. So it really is, when you talk about Titan time or Vince time or whatever, whenever you're called, you don't say, oh man, I got to change the tips on my shoelaces tonight. You're ready either way. So that's what it was. And that became Byte This. And and I don't know that it was that great either. It was just an avenue to get out there and do stuff. So
Man, no, I loved it. I remember in the early days, Droz used to come on as sometimes the co-host, and I remember constantly Byte This coming up as a source of the WWF, WWE of creating constant trouble for themselves. Because I know Steve Austin in like 2002, it must have been 2002, said some things that was annoying the writing team. Earlier, Shawn Michaels said some things that got him in trouble as well. Do you remember any of the more controversial moments from the show?
I don't remember anything specifically controversial, but I remember, again, the culture being what it was, and the writing team being who they were. I don't remember what Austin said, don't remember what Sean said, but it wasn't that uncommon back then, because they were in the position they could say stuff, or were about to be in the position they could say stuff. And if you didn't like it, well, tough. So, but it was that way, and you had to say things to get noticed. And Austin's never really shied away from that, especially when he got his big break. He was going to make it no matter what. He was determined, and Sean was too. I just watched a match with the Rockers against the Orient Express with Mr. Fuji in their corner, and you could see Sean on the verge of breaking out. And but Sean's always, you have to look, to be successful, you have to have confidence. And some people can cross the line and nothing will happen. Others will get right up to it or step about 5 miles back and be fired for whatever reason they want to find. It's all up to you, but in the same time, you have to make somebody like you to want you to be there. And it's a tricky path to follow, because you want to be true to yourself, but you have to understand it's business, and you have to understand it's human beings. And you have to understand that if you're going to be around somebody that much on the road every day, all the time, you better know how to interact. You better know how to communicate. You better not be a complete jack off, because you ain't going to last.
Yeah, there's the talent between, if you're ultra talented like Shawn Michaels, you may be able to get away with it. If you're Glenn Kulka, maybe not.
Yeah, Glenn hadn't made his way in there yet. Yeah. You got to work your way in there yet. Show him right. Fine, gentlemen.
I'll ask you one big question, then the big finale. WWE's Performance Center, and as a trainer of superstars over the decades, you'll be able to answer this probably more than anyone else. The Performance Center's been open for nearly 10 years, at least 8, and they haven't really produced any stars whatsoever. A few recognisable names, but no like mega stars. What are they doing wrong, basically, as compared to what maybe you were doing in Florida Championship Wrestling, in the headquarters and everything else?
I don't know that they're doing anything wrong. They're certainly doing things different than the way we did it. Let me start here. when WCW opened the power plant, they had some guys running it, and they would do the squats and they would do the push-ups. And if one guy messed up, everybody had to start again. That's good for discipline. And if the coaches did it with them, then I'd say wholeheartedly go. But I didn't see those coaches, from what I know, they weren't doing the 1,000 squats and were starting over when those guys messed up. They were the ones barking and yelling and screaming. Some people react good to that. Some people don't. Again, pat on the back, kick in the ass. What do you do to motivate your talent? You want to get the purpose of training talent, the purpose of having a performance center or a training center or a wrestling school or any kind of school where you have to coach people, in my opinion. And I stress, wrestling is just an opinion, and this is mine. You're looking to make your talent or your people better. And what do you have to do to make them better? Not everybody's going to start out on the same level. Some it takes longer, some it takes a shorter time. With the PC, let me start back. With FCW, we didn't have global TV. We didn't have a national TV. We were on a sports obscure network where these guys got the idea, got the feeling for doing TV, working the hard cameras, hitting your times, almost in a limited view with limited audience. They weren't on the big screen first. They could screw up here. They could make their mistakes. They can make all the errors they want, look at it, review it, either make improvements, get better, or not. And that's the way we pretty much described it. If they had a look, if they could walk and chew gum at the same time, we could show you the basics. The rest is when you get up there on the road and backstage. How do you interact? How do you communicate? If they don't like you backstage, as hard as this may sound, to believe, or hard to believe, there are some very envious, petty, jealous people in show business. Professional wrestling is show business. Not everybody's looking out for your best interest because they're looking out for their best interest. So they have some great talent at the PC. They have 6 different rings. I have the view of this. That's more of a distraction than it is a help, because you got young kids in there working in this ring, listening to the bumping going on in the next ring, paying attention to the cool stuff they're doing in the other ring. And then you got other rings going over here. So instead of the attention fully on the coach, fully on one ring, following what's going on, you got all this activity going around you. Yes, you got to concentrate. Hey, stop looking over there. Well, hey, let's move the ring in another room, or let's move it away where it's at least separated visually. That was my opinion. In FCW, they wanted 4 rings. We had 3 in the back, 1 in the arena. Okay, cool. I understand the thought process behind that. But in my opinion and in my experience, it was more distraction than it was help. No matter how far away they are, if you're still able to see it, if you're 20 years old, 25 years old, you're experiencing the whole thing. Hey, what are they doing over there? Hey, why is Sean over there with this guy? Why are we over here with this guy? Hey, what do you got? Oh, why can't we do that? No, concentrate on this, but you can't have distraction. So the PC, instead of having the chance to screw up or try things, experiment, where very few will see it, you're going right to NXT, or you're going to the house shows. You have a lot of coaches. You have over 100 people at the PC right now, from what I understand. How do you make everybody, not everybody's going to be a star, but how do you make the most? How do you maximize the learning time the talent gets? What quality learning time does the talent get? 4 hours is about the time. After that, you're going to fade away. Your mind's not going to concentrate. You've got to do it. And sometimes 3 hours, depending on heat, depending on a lot of elements. My way of doing it is 4 hours. Then take a break, go train, do what you got to do, think about it. review some film, review your stuff, match study, learn your craft, find out who came before you. They're bunching it together. It's a great building. It's a great system. It really, really is. But when you also, here's another thing. We used to mandate no indie guys, don't want any independent guys for a couple reasons. They have their style, they have their habits, they believe they're right. Some you can break through, some you can get to and explain why we want it done this way. There's a reason for the timing. There's a reason for positioning. There's a reason for everything we do, from spacing to body language. But these guys believe going out, not all of them, but a lot of guys go out and they clap their hands. Come on, guys, cheer for me, cheer for me, cheer for me. Why are you begging these people to cheer for you? Do something to earn that. Do something to come out, and don't stomp your foot. Don't do this until you get to that point in your career. Some guys can do it later on, but when you're first starting and you've come from the independent scene and you've got a pop, don't mistake a pop for being over, and don't mistake a pop for a Pavlov's dog, or for not being just a Pavlov's dog response, because it's wrestling. You go out there and people want to be entertained. Man, we did a graduation show a couple weeks ago in Jackson, Tennessee, maybe 50 people there, maybe, I don't know. But they were hanging from the rafters, right? Of course.
Well, Ricky Morton's coming up in a couple of minutes, so
exactly. Yeah. So our guys, we have three matches on the card: a singles guys match, a single girls match, and a battle royal. The guys in the match come out first match, and the people are popping for them. No, they're popping because the show's starting. And you guys get in the ring. Okay, you look good. Okay, you're young. Yeah, you're new. Hey, what are these guys going to do? Wasn't a perfect match, but the people were gracious. They understood these guys are just starting. Hey, we're going to clap here. Hey, we're going to boo here. Hey, because that's what these fans do. These guys might have thought, boy, we really did good. We got over. Well, we've had graduations there, so they know it's from art school, and they know these guys are just starting. They know it's their first match. They're encouraging them. I think it's got to the point where you have your hometown crowds, and at NXT, this is awesome. You're taking away the excitement, the unpredictability. If you remember the Attitude Era with the signs and the excitement, the authentic, original energy, the gravitas is real. When people come out and they talk, they spoke. Steve Austin, that was real. Shawn Michaels was real. The Rock, you don't like me? Die, Rocky, die. I'm going to show you who I really can be. It's authentic. It's real. Nowadays, the guys are more or less playing a part. There is no, I am this part. Austin is Austin. Rock is Rock. Hunter's Hunter. Sean. Mankind was Mankind. He wasn't Mick Foley. He was Mankind. That's a huge element missing today, although I do know they're trying to put it in them. When you have a lot of your indie darlings being called up and called in, they know they're indie darlings. They know they're on the internet because they read every freaking Twitter, every freaking Instagram, every freaking Facebook thing that puts them over. You start believing it. Okay? It takes time. It takes years. Hulk Hogan wasn't born overnight. Hulk Hogan got his leg broke by Matsuda to prove this is real. And they thought they'd send him away. He came back and said, look, you guys either train me or I'm going somewhere else. But I live here. I'd rather do it here. So they respected him for coming back. But he went out and paid dues. He went out and didn't go to the main stage right away. Big guy, they saw, okay, let him get some seasoning. That's why the territories are so important. That's why I'm it's a different day, different age, different culture. But the territory system, you could go here and stay, go up to Portland, stay for a year. You can go over here on the East Coast, stay for a year. Georgia, all these different places, not only learn different styles, but different ways of going into something. Jake Roberts discovered the DDT by mistake. He was going to suplex a guy named the Grappler. He tripped over his karate pants and people went, whoa! But that wasn't the finish, so Jake didn't cover him. They got back to the dressing room and Lynn said, the Grappler said, why didn't you cover me right there and just pin me? Jake said, because that wasn't the finish. Then the grappler said, listen to the people. And that's what you're missing in territories, going to different parts of the country, different parts of the world, like Eddie, Benoit, Tiger Mask, those guys in Japan. You learn a different style over there, then you bring it over here, you make it yours, you make it new. I don't know who did the first moonsault. I'm going to bet on Eduardo Carpentier, but I remember seeing Chavo Guerrero in the 80s. Go to that top rope, do the moonsault, land on his feet, and roll back. Oh, my God. I remember the first time I saw Snuka do the dive in Houston, and people going, oh, my God, because they hadn't been seen before. Now everybody does it, and it's gotten monotonous. It's gotten to the same place. James, I know you want to rush through this, but if I can tell you one quick story.
No rushing, please carry on.
Okay. This is a Jim Cornette analogy, which makes it even better. And I've really tried because I don't think I swear a lot. I do. But I really think when you don't know who's seeing this, I'm trying to be civilized. but I'm throwing civilized out the window right now. If you walk in to your house tomorrow and you see 2 elephants fucking, holy shit. Hey, man, look outside my house. There's 2 elephants fucking. Holy shit. If the next day you walk in your house and those elephants are still out there fucking, holy shit. Have you seen those fucking elephants? By the third day, it's, oh, there's those fucking elephants. It loses its shock value, it loses its appeal. So a hurricanrana, holy shit. A dive outside the ring, holy shit. 14 super kicks, fuck. Holy shit. Concession stand. You've seen it. You've done it. It loses its emphasis. It loses its impact, its effect, its desired effect. You're trying to shock. You're trying to be unpredictable. You're trying to be different, new. Okay. Originality is highly overrated, but at the same time, find out who came before you, steal it, make it your own. Just I don't want to say modify it, but add a little texture or a little extra sparkle, a little extra specialness to it, and you can make it your own. Mankind called Jim Cornette to get a hold. He could do with anybody. A guy who'd been in the business maybe 6 months, Dr. Sam Shepard, had the jaw claw. He had the mandible claw. I saw it in the 70s with Don Jardine, who wrestled as a spoiler. I remember the hold. I remember them going over it. When we studied about it, learned who came up with it, he was only in the business a short period of time, this guy. Dr. Sam Shepard was all over the headlines. He killed his family. He went to prison.
The Fugitive was based off his life, wasn't it?
Yes. 40 years old. And then got out, met George Strickland, fell in love with George Strickland's 16-year-old daughter when he's 40 years old. 16, 40. What's wrong with this picture? Yeah, disturbing. Disturbing. But the point is, he had this claw, he had this hold, he had this move. Nobody else would have known about it except Jim Cornette, because he's a history buff. He's a student of the game. He knows. There's history buffs at the PC. There are people who know their stuff at the PC. They have a great facility and great opportunities to learn the business. At the same time, you're using guys who have been wrestling in front of independent crowds and people who are used to going, this is awesome and holy shit. Nothing wrong with that, except it's not authentic. They just want to be part of the show. There is nothing unpredictable. They just want to be part of the show. It's not authentic. They just feel this is what we got to do now to be part of the show. So I don't know that it's not necessarily turning out stars or not working. I just think the method they're going about doing it is missing some elements. And they don't like the way I do things. They wanted a 1-year curriculum. Nothing wrong with that. But that's not the way you do this. This is a feeling business. Not everybody's going to be able to do it this way. So you figure out another way to do it. It's the same thing. It's just a little twist on it. When we do it in school, when we do it in practice, I tell everybody, I want you to do it this way and learn it this way first. Once you have this way down, then you can go to the next chapter and try it a different way. But let's get one way down first and make sure you can do this with everybody. And you're not going to hurt yourself or the guy or gal you're working with. They're saying, do it this way. This is the only way to do it. And want you the only way forever the rest of your life. No. Don't want that, because then everybody's cookie cutter. Everybody's the same. You don't want cookie cutter. You want to be special. You want to be different. It's show business. Some guys who come out and have natural charisma get squashed once they get to the main roster because they're saying you can't do that here on NXT level in front of this crowd, this camera, maybe. When you get here, I want it this way. You have to know how to adapt. You have to know how to go in and if they say plug in this, you can plug it in and go. But that takes years. And sometimes they're rushing these guys through the system and they get up to the main roster or even on NXT and they just flounder.
They well, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, WWE are loudly celebrating domestic ratings of over 2 million when 20 years ago they were peaking at around 10 million in 1999 and a couple of times in 2000 as well. So the proof's in the pudding, and that's that, isn't it? Really, you can't say
right. Once again, and the guys, think about this: the guys who were on top back then went through the last part of the territory system. Austin, Rock, the last part, like Memphis, was a territory system where you worked every night or at least 5 nights a week. Had to get in your car, travel, make it, work on a strict budget, learn how to budget your money. Steve Austin ate raw potatoes for months at a time. Not the healthiest thing to do, but he had a drive, he had a passion, he had an idea, he knew where he was going. So that, I think, is a huge element that's missing. And you can't have a curriculum, a 1 year from start to finish curriculum that one size fits all. In my opinion, yes, you can have a playbook. Yes, you can, but you're going to deviate from the playbook. I will promise, if you're going to be a success. True. I wrote a 1 year curriculum, though, by the way. And this is it, but it's not the only way to do it. There are suggestions. You mix and match. You don't just go by the book and say, this A, B, C, D, E. No, you may take A, skip the rest, go to the next chapter and go B. And some people get it, some people don't. For the rest, then you go back to the basics. Anyway.
Say, where can people buy that book?
My gosh, you mean this one right here that I'm holding in my very hand?
That one right there you're holding in your hands. Where could Joe Blogs buy a book such as that?
Well, actually, you could go to our website, jpwrestlingacademy.com. It's on the front page. All you have to do is click the link. It'll take you to, I believe it's Amazon, and order directly there. And also, if people want a signed autograph copy of this very book, there are no pictures in it, by the way. There are, yes, Thursday and Friday are duplicated, but the rest of Monday and Tuesday and stuff, there are suggestions, there are ideas, there are drills. If you want a signed autograph copy, we have found out that overseas, please find out what the overseas shipping is. And
it's a lot. I know the overseas shipping is crazy.
Yeah. It is really crazy because I've sent some as far as Australia, New Zealand, England, Germany, they're all over. So we've got inside the shipping as well. But for a signed autograph copy for $25, you can go on my PayPal, Dr. Tom Prichard at AOL.com, or just send me an email and I'll send you the information. It is, again, JP Wrestling Academy at gmail.com, and all the information will be sent.
Right, so right, and here's the finale I give. We call it the firing line, and I've said we again. It's the royal we because it's me. I'm going to give you about 15 names from your career, from the beginnings to all the way to the end. You give me your impressions of them. Maybe a funny story might tumble from your lips if there is one, and if you don't know them, just skip over them. And the first one is Louis Spicolli. I barely said Louis Spicolli.
Louis Spicolli. I actually love Lucifer Cully. He was a great kid, had a ton of potential. He came all the way out to Wichita, Kansas from California when we were doing TV out there with Burt Prentice, and he wanted to just get an opportunity. I introduced him to Burt. Burt wanted to use him. That promotion closed down before he had a chance. And I worked with him in ECW, actually. But he was one of those kids who loved the business and got caught up in a lot of things that we all get caught up in at times. And it's a shame, but he was a great wrestler. He's a great performer. And you know the guys who love it. You know the guys who are just in it for whatever reason they're in it. And Louis loved it. So, yeah, it's a shame.
Bobby Blaze.
Bobby Blaze is another guy who loves the business. And from Kentucky, didn't look like much. But, man, when he got in the ring, he could work and could tell a story. Another fellow, nicest guy in the world, loved the business. Have a good time and go up and down the road. Great guy.
Number 3 is Ox Baker.
You know, Ox could sing opera, and he painted his toes red. Yeah, he painted his toenails red, and he would be in the showers.
Oh, I've jinxed it. I jinxed it.
He was a clown. He was great. He was a funny guy. You son of a gun! You should have never said went 5 minutes, 15 minutes.
I know. I shouldn't have done it. I just as soon as that, I was like, God, you're gonna get me for that one. So he painted his toenails red.
Yeah. Ox painted his toenails red. He was a gimmick from start to finish. He really was a lot of fun. What a really nice. You would look at him as such a evil looking character. He was a perfect character, but he was also the perfect. Couldn't always walk and chew gum at the same time, but you know he had the distinction of having 2 people, I believe, die in the ring or afterwards, and you know, not due to anything he did, but they gave all the credit to him, which is great. You know, to have that hard punch, and he would have the left hand, and he wouldn't bring the arm up; he would just bring the right hand down, and he cut a great promo, fantastic, but a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with him too.
Was he in a Kurt Russell film?
Yeah, Living Down New York or New York, something like that.
Escape from New York.
Escape from New York.
There you go.
Yes.
It was bugging me, that one.
Well, he was the guy, real quick. He was the guy who gave the grappler I was speaking about with Jake Roberts, who invented DDT. They were riding together one time, and Ox just said, you know, on your promo, you ought to say, hey, when you're a great wrestler, they don't call you a great wrestler. They call you the grappler. Beat me if you can. And I thought, wow. And Glenn says, yeah. And Glenn used that as his tagline every time after
that. Henry O. Godwin.
Henry O. Godwin is another guy. Just, oh, man, you're mentioning some good guys. I had a lot of fun with him, too. Big, burly, unremarkably strong, but one of the nicest guys in the world if he's on your side. If he's not, you'd better be able to run fast. But great guy. I had a lot of fun with him. And Phineas.
Did you ever notice the whole BSK thing and everyone getting the tattoos at the time?
Yeah. Phineas has it behind his ear. I think Henry has it on his arm, and Taker has it on his stomach, and Yoko had it, don't know where. But yeah, it was obvious. You had the click BSK, but once again, and I thought both crews pretty good. I was never in a position not to get along with anybody. So, and I was fine with that. Yeah.
Steve Kern.
Steve Kern, great guy. Loved doing FCW with him. I learned a lot from Steve. I sure did. And, I won't forget a lot of the lessons I learned from Steve. It was eye-opening.
Is always the smirk when you say I learned a lot, and you can always sort of guess what you're going on about.
If you do, you do. If you don't, I'm sorry.
Killer Kyle.
Damn, another guy who one of those guys that was always dependable, loved the business. intimidating if you didn't know him. If you didn't know him, he could give you a look, or he could give you that death stare without even realizing. So, but I enjoyed him, and Cornette brought him in to be his big Bubba in Smoky Mountain. And I can understand why, because he had potential. I think he was just happy being a homebody. He was just happy staying home. He had a family.
Nature Boy Buddy Landell.
Yes. Well, I did learn a lot from Nature Boy Buddy Landell, but Buddy was one of those guys from Knoxville, Tennessee, who had the size and potential um, to be a fantastic wrestler, be a superstar. But Buddy is also like a lot of these guys here in Tennessee and around, some of these independent places where they have a view of professional wrestling and they think all they have to do is be goofy and crazy and they're going to make $1 million. Buddy was goofy and crazy. He also had talent and confidence. Sometimes he got a little cocky and got in his way, but uh, Buddy meant well. He had a heart of gold, but he had a habit of starting shit and just causing problems. He couldn't help himself. He was one of those guys who just couldn't help himself. He was in line for a huge angle with Ric Flair, and Rick went out and cut this promo about I've spilt more liquor, spent more money on spilt liquor than I have than you have in your entire career. And sometimes when you're ribbing on the square or shooting on that like that, it messes with your head. And I think Buddy couldn't stay on the ground long enough to rationalize or rectify what Rick was doing. Again, going back to UFC, these guys, that's what professional wrestling used to be. The trash talk, the bullshit, the McGregor fight. Hey, your wife's calling me all the time. Come on, it's over, but it's not over. It's a work. It's a game. It's show business. I'm not saying the fight's at work. But I'm saying that's the element that these guys bring to it, because they don't let anybody in, wink, wink, nod, nod, because they're not working, as far as you know, but they're still talking shit to each other. And Buddy would do that. When he's in control, it was okay. But when you had somebody else on another level at that time, sometimes it can affect your psyche and can affect your going, oh, wait, he's true. That's true. I don't know if I can hang with this guy or not. And that's what everybody does. It's outside the ring as well. Rick would say something on a promo and Buddy'd say, wait, he's shooting right there. He means it. He means it. Well, of course he means it, because it's a match. You have to think shoot, but work. And you got to think that way, but when we get in the ring, we're doing business. We're going to work. And that's what Buddy kind of, I think, let happen to him. It affected him. And sometimes when that happens, you want to hide behind something or anything you can. And unfortunately, I think that's what happened to Buddy. He was his own worst enemy, as a lot of us are.
Were you there for the Moon River incident?
No, I wasn't.
I believe the story goes that it was something like an I Quit match, and the referee put the microphone to Buddy Landell's mouth while he was in a submission, and he started singing Moon River.
Probably. It sounds like Buddy, but yeah. You have guys like that who think, you're being cute at the minute or whatever you're thinking. I don't know, but that probably got him some heat. Yeah, but no, I wasn't there for that one.
Okay. Jamie Dundee.
Oh, wow. I love Jamie Dundee too. I said to Jamie one time, it's better to remain silent and be thought of a fool than speak up and remove all doubt. Every time I've seen him since then, he's quoted that to me. Jamie meant well too, but he's a lot like Buddy Landell. He had a big pair of shoes to fill, and he didn't always know how to handle it. So he would have to step out of his comfort zone and get in somebody's face, or show you how much drunker he could get than you, how high I can get than you. I smoke you under the table. I can snort you under the table. Okay. Good for you. No, let's do it. Come on. That kind of stuff. And I understand that's Jamie. But you need people like that. That's the characters. Those are authentic characters. He's not playing a part. That's Jamie. And I think as we all get older, we realize, damn, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that. And I think Jamie's come to that realization a couple times. I love Jamie though. Jamie's. I like people like that who are just a lot of fun. They're not normal everyday average dogs and cats. They're lions, tigers, and bears, and sometimes you're an ostrich. So.
Even I struggle, like saying Jamie Dundee. Even I've got to go Jamie Dundee. I've got to say that. I've got to do the accent.
I'm Jamie by God Dundee. The police, I remember this. The police come back one time, Memphis TV, and Jamie's got a shirt off. He's got Dundee written on his back. And they say, we're looking for Jamie Dundee. I don't know him. Oh, come with us. You know what I mean? He's got Dundee written on it, tattooed on his back. I don't know Jamie Dundee. Okay, let's go down and talk about it, kid. So, but again, I think that's another thing missing today is true, authentic characters. Brock Lesnar's about the only one.
Kevin Kelly.
I like Kevin Kelly helped me more than I could ever explain or repay when we were doing voiceovers. He's been a very good friend for the past few years, and offered advice, suggestions, and offered just a ear sometimes. And when you don't have a lot of people like that, it's good to have one that you know you can call up and say, "Hey, so there's a yellow toad in the middle of the forest, and he's crying." And then he goes, "Oh yeah, and then what's next?" There's a joke in there, but it's too long to tell. I ain't going to tell it. Go ahead.
Okay, next one, Teddy Hart.
Wow, wasted potential. Teddy was a talented guy who told me once, he said, you tell me less is more. No, more is more. Yeah, but no. No, you're not getting it, Ted. It's how and what you do, not how much you do. It's in between stuff. And I saw him 2 years ago, and he said, now I know what you mean. But he's 40-something years old. He didn't understand how to play the game. He didn't understand how to communicate. He didn't understand because he had it all. His vision was his vision. He wasn't going to stray from that. I understand. I totally understand. We're young. Youth is wasted on the young. And you don't get that until you turn whatever age it is. Finally, when it comes to you, some people it never comes to, but you'll have an epiphany and you go, wow, dude, I was stupid. Not only stupid, but I should have been dead. And that's for Teddy, man. He should have been dead, but he's still there. And I don't know if he gets it now, but he needs to.
You actually mentioned this guy before, and I can't believe you did. Tiger Conway Jr.
Yeah. Well, Tiger Conway Jr. was from Houston. I grew up watching him and his dad. And when I broke in, it was Tiger, Chavo Guerrero, Manny Fernandez. They were like my mentors, and I was their rookie. That's what they called me when I broke in. Hey, rookie. So I did. I rode with them. I went out places with them. I did things with them. It's like, holy Jesus. But Tiger was always a guy that would snatch me up and say, come on, kid, we're going. So he's a great guy, though. I mean, for that time, he grew up in the territory system. He knew what it was like and knew where to steer me. So,
Sean Stasiak.
Sean Stasiak is one of the guys that baffled me because he really had a great look. He could move. He was an amateur wrestler. He loved the business. But what happens to a lot of us, I'm putting my name right in there with them. We get in the business and we have ideas and we have a vision. And all of a sudden you meet reality and you go, whoa, it's not what I thought it was. And then if anybody come over and sit you down and explain the facts of life and professional wrestling, then you're only going to learn by what the guys do to you outwardly in front of everybody else. And that's not the way to learn. You need somebody to take you aside and say, kid, don't be a dumbass. Just relax. Let the guys fuck with you and take it. Don't sell. Don't sell. But Sean sold. And he did things that were young, dumb, and just stupid. But I like Sean. Sean means well too. Sean's a really good guy. He just needed to get his head together back then.
Did he? Oh, did you ever catch him with the supposed tape recorder that you'd hide in the bag?
No comment.
Okay. The Nasty Boys.
Man, I don't know the Nasty Boys real well. But every single time I'd see those guys, it was like I'd known them forever. Can't explain it. It's just one of those things. Hey, man, we never in territory together, but I knew who they were. They knew my name, and we knew each other just because we did when we met. It's like one of those things. I'm not a big ribber. I don't rib. I don't rib and don't want to be ribbed. It was Owen. But the Nasties would do ribs, but they were funny. They were actually amusing. Some they could be nasty, but the stuff I got from them, and I never saw them do anything, but I heard about a lot of stuff they did. One time, or more than one time, I think, they stopped at a convenience store in Tampa, Florida Tag Team Champions, walked in the convenience store, opened up a bag of chips, started eating them, pulled beer out of the cooler, drank 2 of them, and left the store. Didn't pay. Nothing. I believe it. In Memphis, the Nasties got thrown in jail. And this is someone telling this story. Jeff Jarrett goes to bail him out, and the cops say, yeah, please get him out of here, because they had the whole cell yelling, screaming, having fun with him and all that bullshit. So whether that's true or not, I'm going to lean on yes, it is true, because I've known knobs, I've seen sags do that shit. Just come in, take over the place, not in a mean, nasty way, in a fun, party loving way. And that's what they're doing in jail too. So I get it. I could see that happening.
You did. I don't know if you wrestled with them, but you were in a match with them, because that's why I ended up picking that name. So I was looking through lists of matches, and this was pre WWF, but I think you've wrestled them.
I probably did somewhere, because I know we've run into each other a lot of times, and every time it's just been like we've been best of friends forever. And but those guys make everybody feel that way, and that's the kind of guys you need, because they always say don't meet your heroes, but guys like Bruno Sammartino or some of the great guys like that understand that. And they're still on that level of understanding. If someone takes the time to come over and want to be friendly or say hi to you, and they're nervous, they're nervous, so you put them at ease. Piper was great at that. You were the only person in the room. He paid attention. The Nasties, the same way. I think they felt everybody feel like at that time you're talking to them, you were the only person there, and it mattered. They listened.
What were they thrown in jail for?
The Nasties, I think, was disorderly conduct, drunk in public.
Yeah, I was hoping for that. A few more names. Kamala.
Another nice man. I met him when I first started out. Sugar Bear Harris, great guy. Next time I met him as Kamala, I wasn't sure. I didn't recognize him, because he had the bald head and was doing the paint, but he recognized, he remembered me, which was very, very cool. And he was always a nice man too. Very, very nice man.
And the next name is Chick Donovan.
Chick Donovan, the Golden Boy. Yeah. I met Chick in Los Angeles. He had an incredible body. And he was a character. He used to say he had a talking dog.
I was going to ask you about that as well.
Yes. True story. And so I just took it as I've been around characters. And my first night in Los Angeles, I met Dr. Jerry Graham. Do you know anything about Dr. Jerry Graham?
He was Vince McMahon's favorite wrestler. Rode around in the pink Cadillac, I believe.
Is that it? That all
That's
you
it.
know?
That's it.
Perfect. Okay, so perfect. So I meet Dr. Jared Graham this night, and drunk as a skunk, but he's sitting in one of the little dressing rooms in Los Angeles, the Olympic Auditorium. I walk in, I see him. I'm about to leave. He goes, no, 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 come in, kid. And I introduce myself. We talked. I'm confused. He knew. He starts telling stories, all this stuff. Dr. Jerry Graham is a character, a legit character. He took his mother out of the hospital when she passed away. Was taken. It was in newspapers, the story where the cops beat him up, take him down, all the stuff, and he, if you were, I have still a good friend. He now lives in Portland, but he was living in Los Angeles at the time. And I'll get to Chick Donovan in a minute. But my friend Lloyd Lee would drive the good doctor around and to towns. And another guy, Kurt Brown, also did the same thing while in Los Angeles in the later days when the doctor was looking for a payoff and just anybody that would book him. You know how if you have to go to the bathroom, you would say, hey, can we pull off next exit, find a bathroom? No, don't worry about it. I'll just go in the car in my pants. And it's like, what? It's done. We're good. And it's like, what? That was the kind of character. Chick Donovan was along that vein, but not going to the bathroom in the car. But he was that guy who believed he was the golden boy. He loved the business. He believed it and dressed the part to this day. He's in his 70s, looks great. He wears the suits. He goes to the thrift shop to get his stuff. He's a little eccentric in that. He wear an old suit from the 1970s or 60s, whatever he can get his hands on. Still the blonde hair, still going to the gym, still the golden boy. I didn't like my time at first with him. Once I got to know him, and once I got to see that, wait a minute, this guy is really living at the edge of the earth, and all it's going to take is just one rumble, and he's out to space. That's all I need to know. He didn't come right. He wasn't tethered to the earth. He would go out here for a little bit and then kind of drift back in and stay right on the edge of the atmosphere and talk to you, kind of like I'm doing now. I talk in riddles and bullshit all the time when people go, what'd you just say? That's the characters I grew up watching. And Chick was one of those guys. He would talk about his talking dog, and he would have a tape recorder or cassette tape he would play in his car about his talking dog. Baffling. It's been over 40 years, but I remember that.
I'm going to have to tell you a very quick story. I might cut this out of the podcast, but my first job when I was an adult, I worked in a laundrette. And some of the sights you see in there are pretty bad. This is going on the Dr. Jerry Graham thing. We had one man come in every week, like clockwork. He'd bring his bag in, put it on the floor, we'll see you in a minute. He looked like, we used to call him the bullfrog. He had a very large head, very hunched over, and the old whiskey nose, when you've got sort of like a nose on top of a nose. Yes. Anyway, he used to leave us every week the biggest pile of shit in his underpants, like just human shit, to the point where, and we always wondered this because when you're 18, you just do what you're told. It actually went to a point in the middle, sort of like where his arse, his bum was. It actually molded to his. So we were wondering what was going on, and my brother who owned the laundry said, "We've worked it out." He goes rambling, he goes walking for hours on end, and it's never occurred to him to pull his trousers and pants down and shit in the field, like behind a bush or something. He just used to shit his pants and then just walk on for hours on end, get back in his car, sit in his car every single day. And the girl who I used to work with at the time ended up getting worms from it, parasites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's people out there like that. There are, yeah.
Do you know what made it what made it the worst thing was he was a pipe smoker. So he'd come in, smoking his pipe, looking all dignified, and then drop in a literal bag of shit on the floor and say, "I'll see you later. Make sure it's clean." And then, so that was that's paying your dues in a different way, I'll tell you.
Yes. Cleaning up somebody else's shit in their pants and not even caring about it. It's like, that's a different mindset too.
Yeah, he didn't have a Cadillac to show for it either, so I don't know what his problem was, but anyway, I'll move on to the semi-main event of this little game, Ahmed Johnson.
Again, I never had any problems with Ahmed, but it didn't take me long to figure out Ahmed felt he was due a bigger spot than he got. But he didn't understand. It's about attitude and about coming in and earning stripes and getting the guys you want to work with to want to work with you. And you have to do it without being over the top and an asshole right off the bat. You can't do that. He wasn't an asshole to me, but we didn't work with him all the time. We didn't have the program with him. But Ahmed just had an opinion that others didn't share. Had a fine time with him. I didn't have any problems, but I could see how he would, because he stage with that aura coming off him, that it was oozing out like I'm Ahmed and I should be the world champion. But it don't work like that. You got to learn how to get over with the fellas you want to get over with so you can work with them and they want to work with you and be a pleasure to work with. Because if you're not, you ain't going to work.
And learn how to not kill people in the ring as well.
That's my point. He went out there like he could do anything he wanted, didn't have to worry about consequences or anything like that. That's not the case, especially when you're calling shots, and especially when the guys you want to work with are calling shots. So,
one thing I wrote in my rock book is in a match with Ahmed Johnson, The Rock, Ahmed Johnson just decided, I'm doing the Michinoku driver tonight. And everyone just stared at him and said, why would you do that?
Right.
That's Taka's move. And they were like, fuck him.
Right. You can't do that. You can, but the end result was the end result. You can't see. That's what I'm saying. You don't do that. Taka had been there longer. Ahmed hasn't. And if you're going to say fuck him about that guy, you're going to say fuck him about somebody else later on down the road, and you're not going to give a shit. And you don't know who you're standing in front of and who knows what and who knows who. So, mistake, I think.
And the very last name, and then we'll shut this podcast down. And it's been an absolute pleasure, a genuine absolute pleasure for me, and hugely appreciative for the time. Here's the last name, Robert Fuller.
Whoa, Robert Fuller. I had heard about my whole career, and it wasn't that long before. I guess had been working 7 years, 6 years, whatever it was when I got to Continental. He was a booker. One of the funniest guys I've ever met, one of the most entertaining people I've ever met. And just by saying hello to him, you feel happy. I felt happy. Just by talking to him, shaking his hand, and he would have a hey, boy, how you doing type thing. And that was so cool. When I got to Pensacola, again, I've been this way my whole life. My only best friend has been, or my real best friend has been Brad Armstrong. And he passed away going on 9 years this year, I think. And so I'd heard Brad talk about Robert Fuller. I'd heard all these great stories about him. Have you heard all the great stories about Robert?
Do you know, I don't think I've heard many.
He's a, how can I say this? He is a
well endowed.
Thank you. Exactly. And you hear these things and you go, okay, but then you hear the stories he would these exploits, and you're going, yeah, okay, I get it. I know people like that. But then you meet him and you would hear his stories in the locker room, and he would tell these stories in the locker room, and he's funny as hell. He's an infectious laugh. I have never seen him in a bad mood. And I owe him for giving me the opportunity to be the doctor in Continental Championship Wrestling, because without him, that never would have happened. So And they gave me an opportunity to go out there, be a heel, work with them to learn that style. Pensacola was a lot like the Portland territory, so Memphis territory, where you're going to get a lot of reps. You're going to get a chance to work every night in Pensacola, as well as Memphis, Portland, some of these smaller territories. You're not going to get rich by any means, but you're going to have a blast. You're going to make the living. Go on the beach. You can go to the gym, live on the beach. Don't have to leave till sometimes 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You're home every night, most of the times. And it's good when you have people like that you enjoy being around. And Jerry Stubbs was in Pensacola, Brad, the Armstrongs, all those people. But Robert Fuller was the guy booking at that time. And he gave me the chance to work with he and Jimmy and work with some of the guys there who were on top and get some more experience, promos, interviews, and just having a blast. So I owe Robert Fuller for giving me that opportunity. I really, really do.
Yeah, it's such a shame that you didn't do more in the WWF. But I'll leave with one quote that I did. Oh, sorry, carry on. WWF.
No, I was just going to say, they wanted him to do more in WWF. They wanted him to be a part of the office, and he told me that story. It was like, I don't think so, guys. I mean, he had just because when you work up there, you work up there. Rob likes to have his beer and his scripture, and he reads scripture a lot. I think by the pool, and anywhere he could read scripture or drink a beer. And, so I mean, doing that up there on a consistent basis and being in the office every day and having to be professional and having to, not that he can't be, it's just that I don't think he desires to be.
One last thing I will mention is I heard an interview with Honky Tonk Man where he said he could get a top wrist lock on his own Johnson.
Yes, he could. Yeah, he could. Now I have seen that. And you're going, Robert, did you really have to show me that? But he was, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's but see, real quick, a friend of mine told me, he says, we were raised to think this is normal. This is it. And I thought, not really, but once I got in, I go, yeah, it felt like this was the life. This used to be the traveling show. And was it corny? Yes. Was it appealing to some people? No. But to me, it was like, man, I couldn't see living any other way. Going to town, different towns every night, going out in front of people, playing a part, but actually becoming that part and actually remembering what it was like to sit in those seats and watch the same thing, and then to elicit that same emotion that you felt in portraying that and feeling that and seeing the same people just like you as a fan doing it. And you're going, this is the greatest life in the world. And as you move on, the bumps feel more and more, but you still love it because it's just something you're passionate about. And stuff like that, stuff the guys, we some of the places we go to would have great dressing rooms. Some of the places we go to would have horrible dressing rooms. Some of the places we go to have great locker rooms and horrible locker rooms. There's a difference. There's a dressing room, there's a locker room. Then you got it all together and you got the boys going in there telling stories, laughing, having fun, finding crazy shit laying around. And that was professional wrestling. Unfortunately, that model doesn't exist anymore. It's a little more sterile, a lot cleaner, and not as unpredictable and off the cuff or improv as it used to be.
Pre-prescribed,
whatever you want. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, you just said one thing as well. You said a fan like you was like, I've not watched wrestling in years. Like nothing new. I've not watched anything. Do you know the last time I watched Raw, CM Punk was on it?
Right.
So,
exactly.
It's, I do this because I love talking. I love hearing the old stories. I love hearing the old stories from the old days of people who were genuine characters. And
you're not alone in that thought, not alone in that feeling. I talked to a lot of people like that the same way. I teach wrestling right now, and we go back to the old school matches to show the basics, the fundamentals, and never go out of style. Because if you can do the basics, and you have some body language, you have some charisma, and you figure out you can do 5 things well to everybody, You just mix and match and work it around, man. And it could be storytelling as it used to be, but no one wants to do it because you think you have to do the hurricanranas. I call them Havoc-Coronas or toupees or topes. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. And it goes back to the two elephants. It's not that special after you've seen it over and over and over. It loses the effect. So I hear that all the time. They can't watch it today. There's less than 1 million people, sometimes 2 million people on Raw and SmackDown. Whatever it is, they need to fix it. They need to find authenticity again. And the world's a different place. Everybody gets hurt. Their feelings hurt, butt hurt. You can't say something bad, or you can't say something negative. You can't say something even critiquing. If you said something when you were 7 years old, hey, we're going to bring that back up one day. So it's not as fun. It's just a different world. So we have to adapt, but we have to find something to get people to come back. Otherwise, I hate to say it, but we don't want it to be roller derby 2021.
I think that goes for wrestling as well as life. Things just aren't quite as fun as they used to be, and you can't get away with things that you could, and everyone's got a camera phone, and everyone's got an opinion, and everyone's got the internet, and Twitter and everything like that. But for now, do you know what? Because I've got Ricky Morton in 55 minutes, and I need to have my lunch, and it's 4 p.m.
Go right
so
ahead.
I'm gonna before I shut down the podcast, throw us the plugs one more time.
Hey, listen, if you want to train for professional wrestling, we've got guys from all over the world. England, Germany. We just had a kid from Germany, Puerto Rico, India. Come see us. But if you'd like this book, it is just a curriculum of suggestions, ideas for 1 year, the Aspiring Pro. The name is a complete 1 year training curriculum and guide for beginners and seasoned pros. A pro wrestling curriculum, advice, suggestions, and stories to help the aspiring pro get to the next level. You can also find out everything about JP Wrestling Academy, the Jacobs Prichard Wrestling Academy, on jpwrestlingacademy.com. James, thank you very much. Please give Ricky Morton my best.
I will, absolutely. And one more thing. Why don't you have a podcast? I'm not trying to sell myself and getting you into a podcasting thing, but man, you've got so many stories.
James, I have 3 podcasts.
Well, what? Give us the plugs.
Wait, stop. Well, hold on. Wait. So I have Taking You to School with John Paz, X-Ray with Paul Brumwell, and X-Ray podcast, and Taking You to School. And what's the other one? God almighty. Taking You to School. How about this? They're on my website. They're on. They really are. They're on. Hold on here, because James, I know you got to go. I know you got to eat, but hold on here. I'm going to tell you. Hold on. Hang on. I feel stupid doing this, but sometimes it happens. All right, so I have 3 podcasts. I have Wrestling University with Joe Hendry. How could I forget that one? I'm so sorry. Wrestling University with Joe Hendry, Taking You to School with John Paz, X-Ray with Paul Brumwell. I'm going to let him know I'm doing so well that people don't even know they're out there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do. I'm doing 3, and I told the guys I didn't even want to do that because it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of research. I did 2 yesterday. I did one in the morning, one at night, last night. So I did X-Ray, and then I did Taking School. So I'm doing 3.
All right, so the podcast, book, website, and everything, go there if you want to learn how to be a wrestler, if you want to listen to Tom tell his stories, that's how to. And I'm going to switch over to the main camera, so I'm looking into it. Thank you very much for listening. God damn, it's got to be one of our best, that, surely. I mean, so many great stories and everything. Tom, I'm going to look back at you sort of now. I only asked you half the questions I'd written, so if you ever want to do this again and we'll do round 2, I would love that, seriously.
Just contact me like you did before. We'll make it happen.
Absolutely. Right then, and thank you very much for watching, and hope to catch you again next week or whenever I record another one. Cheers.